Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Simply Colorful FiberCast. Today's date is October 20th, 2015. It is a Tuesday night, and I'm doing FiberCast way early, several days early, because I won't be here in the studio, and I won't be available on Friday. So, for anyone who's out there, I hope you can join me and grab a project. And for those of you who are tuning in on Friday, hi, this is Memorex, and keep on plugging. Thanks for joining. So, FiberCast is all about being creative for the next hour, and I have had such a busy couple of days that I thought I would put my dolls aside and I would just get back to my Dear Jane quilt. As many of you know, I hope, or if for those of you who are new, just so you know, I work on Dear Jane blocks periodically. I have been working on this quilt for several years. I started in 2012, and like many of us, I just chip away at my blocks, and I use my book as a journal so that I make notes of what's going on in the world when I make certain blocks. So I thought I would be ambitious tonight and try to do 2 blocks while we're together. The first is Snowball, F3, and I have the Dear Jane software, so I literally print out my patterns. I love it. It's expensive, but once you have it, it gives you years of fun. Because when you think about it, it's something that I can always go back to and have some good satisfaction for just an hour's worth of time in between maybe projects that require a lot more thought. So, anyway, I'm going to do this F3 Snowball first, and I literally make it in 3 parts. And FiberCast, for those of you who are new, FiberCast isn't really an instructional video. It is, although we learn from each other by watching each other and doing, it's not really instructional. It's just me working in my studio. So whatever I'm working on it's a grab bag of what you will get. This is my widow's pane for later. Let's see. So I'm going to put this aside until we're ready to document it. And I turned on my iron, and I think because I have a nice big area, I think I'm going to use this pretty blue as my main piece. And then I have, of course, my background, and I've already used different white backgrounds. It's classic. I just can't stick to one color. Either I lose it or I decide that I like another background slightly better. More often than not, though, it's because I misplaced my original color, and I'm too cheap to buy 10 yards of one color at a time. I buy a few yards and I think, oh, when I need more, I'll get more. And that gets me in big trouble. Anyway, let's see. So I'm a pretty scrappy kind of quilter. And I'm just going to create just a general size to put on the back there. And then these I will need for each end. Okay. Oh, who's there? Ding, ding, ding. Oh my goodness, there's a moth in here. Hey, Karen, hi. Surprise. What you doing? Ah, it is a surprise. I'm so glad you're out there. I'm working on my Dear Jane, as you can see. Okay, and I always, as you know, KB, I have to reteach myself how to do this. And literally, there's a moth here. So the numbers on this Dear Jane are all marked. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and you know, with this big snowball, I'm tempted to make this color be the first number, but it's not. So I have to pay attention to this. Cut out enough of my white. Okay. So I'm going to put my white there. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, I think that will work. Famous last words, right? Okay, I have to reduce my stitch length to 1.8. Oh, and some thread would be good. Funny thing, I thought I had finished all of my thread. Remember, for the last couple of months, I've been on this quest to finish my thread, and I have a thread rack. You know, and I slowly have been chipping away, and it was, I mean, half the bars were still open in my thread. Half the things on the thread rack were open. I thought, wow, I'm really making progress. Well, don't you know, I found a whole other box of thread. So I am back to having a full thread rack. Okay. There we go. And I really am making progress on my witch head. I figured I could save that for our Halloween episode. So I fold that back and literally clean that up. Finger press and hope that I captured. Yep, I should be okay. So there's 1, 2, now 3. I'm a pretty slow paper piecer, I do believe. And all these studio lights make it, now I'm getting it, remind me that it's easy to look up at the light. I'm curious, do most of you paper piece? I remember like 5 years ago it was kind of new for me, if not a little longer. But now it seems as though a lot of people are paper piecing. It was new then. Okay, so now I've got 1, 2, 3. Now 4 is this one across the top. Since I've seen you last, I went to a quilt show. I went to the Peacemakers Quilt Show over in Concord at the Methodist Church, and it was great. And I have some pictures to show you, including a Storm at Sea quilt, KB, that was really cool. I did not recognize it as Storm at Sea at first. In fact, I sent it to Jean, and she also didn't recognize it right away. Let me finish this main piece, and then I'll show you the quilts from the quilt show. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now 5 is down there. I met a friend over there that I used to work with. She's retired, and she loves it. And we took a little, before we went to the quilt show, we met for coffee. And of course, she told me she loves being retired. Shocking. And then we were talking about different ways of living these days and how community living, I think, is really going to take off as our population ages, and we end up having 4 generations instead of 3 generations, sort of all living and thriving. And I think we're going to see more communities of families, intergenerational living, etc. So I was telling her about that, and she lives alone, and she had done a lot of thinking about it. Anyway, to make a long story short, we ended up, there's a community that is in, oh boy, Acton. Not in West Concord, but in Acton, that was started almost 20 years ago. And we went, and they were having an open house, and we checked out one of the houses, and we checked out the community living area. They had a community house that any of them can use. It's not, I had a vision of it being kind of like condos, but it isn't. It was full-blown houses, and they had, you know, common areas, common gardens, again, the common house where you could eat your meals together. It was a much bigger house than she or any one person, I think, needs. It had 4 bedrooms. But anyway, it was interesting to go see that and talk about it. So let me finish this up, and then I'll show you the quilts. So far, so good. I haven't had to take anything out. Yay! That's a plus. Okay. Let me press this, and then I'll show it to you. There is the middle of our snowball. And here's the back, so you can see how messy it looks. Okay, so that's good. Let me show you a couple of quilts. Okay. Ooh, this is going to be fun to show you. This is the Storm at Sea. Isn't that neat? Let me see if I took a picture. Mary Hartman did that quilt, and she said, I first saw this pattern as a drawing. It took me about a year to figure it out as Storm at Sea. That's the block, and then another year to piece it together. I love the way it looks, wavy, but all the pieces are straight lines. And that's the beauty of Storm at Sea. And I know, Karen, you've been playing with that. And again, there it is. And look at how she made the ribbons look interesting. So some of them are darker than, some of the ribbons are darker as they turn around. So that was one. This one was really cool. This is made of all men's shirts and men's ties. Isn't that creative? And it looked really good, and it was huge. It would cover a king-size bed. And the note said, and I'll tell you who did it in a second, the note was funny. Apparently, a woman made it for her husband, and he wouldn't give her, she calls it the no yellow shirt quilt. He wouldn't surrender his old yellow shirt. So Barbara Weiss made this, and Kathy Shoemaker quilted it. She says, I've been saving my husband's shirts and ties for about 20 years. I originally made 5 squares with shirt pockets, tie ends, and the lengths. They were all different sizes and stretchy. I put them aside for over 10 years and brought them out again, picked them apart, and redid them with foundation piecing. The borders were put together using Victoria Woolf's technique of building fabric. Ooh, that's neat. Victoria Finlay Woolf. The tie borders are foundation pieced. My husband would not give me his raggedy favorite yellow shirt. And then when he looked at the final quilt and remarked that it had a lot of pink in it, I just rolled my eyes. Ha! And that's what Barbara Weiss said about her shirt quilt. That's a neat one. Here was a charity quilt. They had a whole bunch of charity quilts on the pews in the church. That looked good. This was so creative. It was a children's quilt, and there was a frog that she had put on the front. In addition to the pieced frogs, she'd appliqued a big frog, and then on the back there was an appliqued frog, and you can see the front of the frog around to the front of the quilt. So that's fun. This was stunning. Look at that. Here, I'll even blow it up if I can. That's an amazing quilt. So I didn't take too many more. Let's see. Oh, look at what I did see. You should recognize that one if you can see it. It's smaller than ours, but certainly has the same look and feel. And I think that's it for a while. Let's see. There were some, oh, I know. There were some neat outfits. So they had also gotten into making shirts and jackets. This one had a combination of different fabrics and knitting. And that was a neat jacket that you could overlay. Here's the front of it. So it was fun. It was inspiring. They did a great job. They do it every 2 years. And there were vendors, and I was so proud of myself, I did not buy a thing. Okay. So now I'm just getting these ready for you use so much fabric, or I do, when I do these blocks. Whew. Okay. So, 1 and 2. Tell you, this is a first for me for a long time. I usually have not been doing much on weeknights. I've been so busy at work. But as you know from last Friday, I get up tomorrow at 3 a.m. and I drive myself into Logan, and I get on one of the first planes to Chicago, going to the McCormick place. Kathleen, wrote to me and asked me where I was going, and it is Chicago. She's down toward, I think, Champaign. But I go there tomorrow, and then tomorrow night I fly back to Boston, and I won't get into Boston until like midnight, so I will stay right there at the airport and then fly to Virginia on Thursday morning for my Thursday and Friday meetings, and then I fly home right when we'd be doing FiberCast. Okay, so there's that. We've got 3 pieces done. There's 3. Now 4. Okay, that's good. What are we going to write about in the diary about right now? I could talk about going to the Peacemakers show last week. I could talk about it being peak color here in New England. It has just been beautiful. It was cold a couple of nights ago, though. Oh, and since I saw you last, in addition to going to the quilt show, I also went down and visited my mother. She says hello to everyone. She's doing great. And she inspired me. She made the best kale salad. So here's what I have a recipe for everyone. And it's going to be a pretty, so get your pencil out and your paper out. It's not going to be exact, but I want to tell you the ingredients, and then you can play with the combinations. So here's the second one. Actually, I'm just going to cut this out. So, kale salad. She took the kale, take the kale first, and cut it up in ribbons, literally between 1/4 and 1/2 inch wide. So lots of little chopped up pieces of kale. Put that in your bowl. Then chop up pieces of apple. And she happened to take apple that had fallen on the next door off of a big old two big old apple trees, and they were delicious. So cut up little pieces of apple. Then find yourself some cheese. I think she used sharp cheddar. Cut up little pieces of that. Put all 3 of those together, and then make a dressing that has a little bit of olive oil and white balsamic vinegar and a little bit of sugar and salt and pepper. I don't think she put any pepper in it, but you could. And then toss the kale, the apple, and the cheese in that very, very light dressing. Not a lot of dressing. You don't have to do a lot. And it is so good. It really is. And I think she let it marinate a little so that it wasn't too, I mean, the kale didn't seem chewy to me or hard. So anyway, that was a good tip. And we had a great time, and it was cold down there, and we spent some time outside. We raked acorns. I'd like to know why deer don't eat more of the acorns. They sure would do us a big favor if they did. Okay, so now I'm trying to be cheap here. I hope I don't regret it. Finding a piece of white that I think is going to fit. There's 1 and 2. Yep, that should work. We'll take this one. In addition to fabric, you use a lot of string when you do this paper piecing. But, ooh, who's there? Huh. I hear some dinging. Let me finish this up, and then we will see who's there. Okay. So, I'm doing the other side here. I'm basically making the mirror image of this one. I don't think I even showed everyone. I was too busy talking about my kale salad. She also made kale chips. Ooh, ding, ding, ding. Ooh, I'm dying to see who that is. I'm going to finish this up. All right. Tell you, it is nice to just get back to quilting with the dolls because I'm so new to it. I have to think so hard when I make dolls. Okay. So now, literally, this is all paper piecing is. It's just sewing, cutting, and turning. And make sure you use little stitches so that it's easy to pull off the paper when you're done. Okay. Okay, there's the raw, second one. Now, I'm literally just cutting along the dotted line so that I have two pieces here that are ready to sew together to this, to the snowball. So before I do that, let me clean this all up, and maybe my kale salad has prompted some others to send in some recipes. Let's see who's out there. Okay, so Karen, hi again. She says, oh, she did. She sent something. She says, for kale, she says instructions. How to eat kale. Step 1, she says. Throw the kale in the compost heap. You make me laugh. Did you all get that? So this is from my sister in Pennsylvania. She says, here are instructions for how to eat kale. It's only one step. Throw it in the compost pile. That's very funny. You should try Mama Salad. It's really very good. That's pretty funny. Who else is out there? Okay, lots of new people have joined us. John, hi. Sean. Wow, James. Danish. Welcome. Oh, and Maureen. Maureen asks from Pennsylvania. Hi, Maureen. She says, have you ever gone to see a fiber show? Of course, now I'm thinking kale, fiber. Am I supposed to eat more? Is this nutrition advice? But then she says, I would love to see fabric, knitting, and cross-stitching under one roof. I would too. That would be really fun, wouldn't it? I don't think I've ever gone to an all-encompassing fiber show. I've gone to knitting shows on the East and West Coast, the big ones there, out in Santa Clara. And we, of course, have the big quilt shows. We have some art shows that come to town here. It's juried art that tends to have a lot of fiber artists there. But they also have mixed medium. They have wood, they have sculpture, metal, jewelry. And that's not really where they're selling supplies at all. That's a great idea. It's kind of an unmet need. There's a place called the Woolery online, and they have, actually I have a couple of other thoughts on this. They have a catalog, and they definitely have multiple fiber-related things that they're selling, from spinning to wool to yarn. And I think they've gotten into rug hooking. So that's one thing, thewoolery.com. The other thing is that up in Henniker, and I think around the country, they definitely, I'm seeing some knitting shops near some quilting shops. So at least they're doing the cross-marketing, and probably they get us to go to both. Like up in Henniker, when we go to that quilt retreat every March, there is the Quilters, can't remember the name of the Quilted Threads, and then we go over to the Fiber Loft, and they're both in Henniker. So I'm seeing some of that. Door Woolen Mill definitely had wool and yarn and some quilting supplies. But that's a great idea, Maureen. And on I go. I'd love to hear from other people. Let us know if you know of any shows that have multiple types of fiber all together. For those of us who are addicted to more than one thing. Let's be honest. Okay, so here's Snowball, F3, and with 2 more seams, we can call this one done, and we can move on to, now let me make sure, yep, to the other one. Can you believe we're going to get 2 Dear Jane blocks done? Kind of psyched. I don't know, though. Sue Norton, I'm sure, has us beat. And all of you, when you go to town, you do great work on your projects. Sandra probably has the whole quilt almost done. All right, there is F3 Snowball. So let's put that aside for now, and let's just dive into our second one, which is Widow's Pane, L1. So it's the same routine. We'll cut the pieces apart. KB, if you're still out there, I have to tell you about the apple trees. There are 2 apple trees over near the Browns, and they're 2 different types of apples. And one kind are such good eating apples, and I kid you not, they're some of the biggest apples I've seen, but they're not mealy at all. They're like almost like Gala or crisp. They're delicious. They're that big. Mama, Susie, and I walked over and we shook the trees. There weren't anything on the ground, but we saw flocks of geese, and we think the geese were eating the apples as they fell. Man, geese make a mess. I don't care. They're pretty, but they make a mess. Okay, what color am I? This one I'm going to do in green. This is an oldie but goodie. Okay, I'm just going to iron it quickly. Oh, and when I went to see my mother, I brought home some things to throw out in the trash, including an old chair that I put on the side of the road and no one is taking it. And brought home Aunt Susie's TV that was at the side of the road. No one's taken that either. And of course, I leave tomorrow for my trips, and I'm leaving them all in the front yard. So of course, Bob will have to deal with those. Anyway, what was I going to tell you? Oh, another thing I brought was some wool from my friend down the street that we're ultimately going to make the braided rugs with. So I washed it all, because I figured if I'm bringing it into the house, and there were definitely some moth holes, but now it's all washed and dried and folded, so that was good to do. Okay, so now I'm literally just cutting out all of my pieces, big oversized pieces. For that. Then I'll get my white, and then we will go to town. I love this color green. Okay, there's that. I want to leave us enough time to write in the diary about these. Okay, I'm just going to do one at a time. Because believe it or not, this might take a little while because there are a lot of seams. So here, I'll show you the front. This is what I'm filling in. I don't know if you can see that. So one will be this color. And then 2 There's two. There we go. Okay, and I finger press it. 1 and 2, then 3 is here. Let's make sure we can get it. Here's there. There's 3. Oh, I'm so glad we're doing this. I cannot tell you how wonderful this is to just think about matching up my seams and saying hello to you all and hoping that you're all doing something fun. It was so nice to hear from Kelsey last week. Kelsey's a friend of mine from the quilting group, which I feel so bad. I've been missing my marathon quilters. In fact, I bet they're meeting tonight. I've just been so busy, and I miss Kelsey's great trunk show. But she wrote to me afterwards, and she said that she's been watching FiberCast when she's been doing her long arm quilting, which I thought was great. If anyone needs long arm quilting services, she does beautiful work. Blueberry Lane Studios. Beautiful work. Highly recommend her. You know, in my travels last week, I had 2 requests for t-shirt quilts. So Jean, who collaborates with Kelsey a lot, Jean, if you're out there, I've given your name to a few people, so don't be surprised if someone from Clemson contacts you about making a t-shirt quilt. She said her daughter and their friends are now at the point where they're seniors at Clemson. No, not Clemson, I'm sorry, West Virginia. And believe it or not, on their senior year, they all sell their t-shirts to underclassmen. I don't know if I told you all that last week. And so she told her daughter not to sell all of them because they were going to make, she wanted to have a t-shirt quilt made. And she asked me if I did t-shirt quilts, and I was quite proud of myself because I said no. Okay. Oh, another update. Missouri Quilt Star Company, according to Jean, is giving away a trip to one of their retreats. So go online and look for that. I haven't gone online and found it yet, but just so you know, that's an opportunity. And I think we are seriously going to go out there in February. So that's the talk. We just have to price it out and get on a plane to Hamilton, Missouri. Okay, so this is the first one. I like using scissors. Okay, there's one piece, again, of the Widow's Pane. So now I'll do the other one. And we need some off-white. Man, their animals are all around here. No mice, again. if I have a window open, but I shouldn't. A menagerie. We really need to either take the show on the road or get us some guest speakers. Wouldn't that be fun? Have some guests in the studio? If anyone out there wants to come over and sew with me, please think about it. Put it on your calendar. My niece Violet, or my cousin Violet, I've mentioned her. She's working on a quilt with all of the tablecloths that she used at her bat mitzvah. And so I can't wait to have her on, and we'll sew with her for a while. She was busy fishing. There was a fishing derby for the last month down off of the Cape and on Martha's Vineyard, and there were not a lot of fish out there. But she and her dad gave it a good try. They even had an article written about them in the local paper and pictures. You know what it is? All the lights here in the studio are attracting the moths. So, making good progress. Do you believe I haven't had to tear anything out yet? This is a good night. Here are my lucky charms. Okay, let's see. There's that. And this big one. Oh, stop it. There are 3 moths. I'm taking a picture to show you guys. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can stop now, Mothy. You see the moths? They're attracted to the light, and they're clicking around, and I keep hearing them. They're about the size of a quarter. Anyway, okay, so. Oh, we had 3/4 of wood delivered yesterday afternoon. That's a lot of wood. But boy, it's been keeping us warm the last 24 hours. I was so cold yesterday. Well, that's a bigger piece than I need. Well, that's okay. Okay. Oh, I didn't finish this piece. Duh. It's okay though. Easily done. There's that. There's the other piece. Okay, there's one. And there is two. Okay. Okay, so there's one piece. Now that one's really done. Wasn't done before. I saw online a note that Bonnie Hunter's mystery fabric requirements are going to be delayed by a few weeks. Did anyone else see that? I don't know where I saw it because I'm kind of blocked, I think, from some of her feeds. Okay, so there are two. Okay. But I have to tell you, I want to do her mystery, but I don't think I can unless she lets me do it, show you what I'm working on. So we'll see. Really kind of curious. And I so enjoy the process. I love the excitement of it. Okay. I think we started at about 1/4 past, so we'll go till about 1/4 past. Feels a little later than our normal FiberCast, but I started late. And once again, thank you all for being there. This has been the best medicine for unwinding after a long, busy day at work. Okay. Okay, so there's a third piece. And then, oh, you can't see these, can you? 1, 2, 3. Just do one more piece. Go. Do one more. here and here. Can you imagine? Let's think about what Dear Jane, how she would have worked on these blocks. Probably not under bright lights like this, if I had to guess. And now L1, I'm going to look this up. I'm not quite sure. L1. Okay, so this is what it's supposed to look like. Okay. Oh, this is neat. I think you're going to like this one. When I'm sewing these together, I'm sewing just a hair away from the line. Because bending it backwards will take a thread or two. If I went right on the line, my blocks would be a little bit too small. I'll show you here if maybe you can see it. Okay, and then let's do one more. Ooh, I can't wait to show you this one. Pretty, pretty. Well, I'll just cut all the strings off. All right. So there is L1 Widow's Pane. And here is F3 Snowball. So I'll give these a good press. I'll pull off the pieces of paper, and then I'll use my Pigma pen, my permanent marker, and I'll write the block name, the date I made it, my name, and that'll be 2 more to add to our pile. So I'm excited. Now what will I say? L1 Widow's Pane, October 20th. Oh yeah, and then I take a piece of the fabric that we use and I actually glue it with a glue stick. Let's see. Yep, I have my glue stick right here. So there's that. October 20th, 2015. The date's important since I'm taking years. Made this block on FiberCast. Karen and Maureen from PA were online. And let's see. Foliage is beautiful here in Massachusetts. Good, I want to say therapy, but that's not good. 60 minutes of non-work activity. Okay, so there's the first one, L1. Now we have the other one, Snowball, which was F3, and then I think we're going to have to call it the end of our FiberCast. I hope you've all been working on a good project. By the time many of you are watching, your week is done. You deserve some time to yourself to do whatever you want to do. Again, this is my F3 Snowball. Ooh, I like this. And here's my little piece of fabric. I'll glue in. Okay, now, so this one also was October 20th, 2015. Made on FiberCast. Also made block, how many times? L1. And then I'm going to say I'm heading to Chicago tomorrow for work. Here's hoping for a uneventful flight. The end. Well, that, we can call it a wrap. That's what we call FiberCast for this week. I'm sorry I'm not there with you live on Friday night, but keep on working. I want to see what you did. And until next time, next Friday night will be recorded too, but I might do a live show on Saturday on Halloween because I have a costume that I have to share. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.